somewhat informed and mildly depressed, I will be happy.
Go to sleep at night, thinking that you care. Let me go to sleep at night, remembering what was there. Fucked and fools, stealing souls, that's what you told me.
Right, how you doing? Yeah. And this is Mike Stang, who's gonna be helping me out tonight. Give it up for him. Right. Everybody doing all right? Yeah? Excited? This is fun. So, it's been 2 years since I recorded a special, and unfortunately, since that, over that course of time, we solved all the world's problems. So, this hour is called Sunny Day on the Beach with Giggle Time. Yeah, that's because everything's been covered. No, every time I turn on the news, I feel like there's at least one story where I think maybe the Mayan prediction that the world was going to end at the end of 2012, maybe it wasn't a prediction. Maybe it was a recommendation. You know? Maybe they were like, about 2013, you should tap out. You really should. You should let it go, all right? You had some good shit. You had the space shuttle and the wheel and the peanut butter and jelly in a single jar. You know, we had good shit, but now it's time to let it go. There's economies collapsing around the world. No one's got a good job. There's dogs in sweaters and kids on leashes. Fucking... The story that did it for me a while ago, I don't know if you caught this one. There was a student in Tennessee who was hospitalized for alcohol poisoning after giving himself a beer enema. That's right, it's here. Butt chugging, it's here, it's here. Nothing looks evolution square in the eyes and says, fuck you, like shit gunning a beer, like butt swallowing a Heineken because shoving it in your face hole was too slow. Congratulations, you just outsmarted your liver. The other one that did it for me, there was I don't know if you saw this. A scientist took 10 books out of a public library somewhere and tested it for all kinds of things. I don't know why. Scientists just have a lot of time on their hands, apparently. And they found that, first of all 10 tested positive for cocaine, which apparently the pursuit of knowledge is now so boring to us that we've got to get coked up to do it. But one of them, 50 Shades of Grey, tested positive for herpes. Now, here's the thing. I know finding a good book can be exciting, all right? Can be downright thrilling. But don't fuck the books. Seriously. Don't fuck the books. You learn that like in second grade. They're like, sentences go like this, periods at the end of a sentence, and don't fuck the books. Yeah, no. And even if you forget the first two, still don't fuck the books. Really. Man, I mean, what the... And 50 Shades of Grey, that was the book that had to get this person hard, really? You couldn't pick some Twain or some Vonnegut, something? You had to pick some half-literate Twilight fan fiction? That's... Maybe it was like a final goodbye to the public library, you know? Certain institutions, you're sad you don't get that one last night, you know? To stick your dick in the VHS slot or put the beeper up your ass, right? We've all been there. Or maybe I've got it wrong and it was the opposite. It was a far right winger who was like, fuck your public library and I'm gonna fuck your books in the face, all right? And then I'm going to the public pool and then my lady's gonna press her vag up against all the community vans to drive the old people around. Yeah, we're gonna fuck every shared resource you have in this community. And if you like the book that much, why not, you know, wear a little protection, you know, wear a condom, put the book in a bag or something, really, because you're not just sleeping with that book, you're sleeping with everybody who's slept with that book. You are. Maybe a book could just be so bad it develops a disease, you know, like I feel like Ann Coulter books could just like develop leprosy, and just pieces start falling off. Does this mean someone could give the Bible herpes? Could that happen? That'd be a special place in hell for that, I think. Although then again, the Bible got herpes because the guy wasn't wearing a condom because of the Bible. So, it's the Bible's own fault on that one. It is. I didn't say we weren't going to start off weird, all right? All right, this is for anybody confused by my other shit. The other day, I saw a sushi restaurant where the sushi goes around on a conveyor belt and then you grab what you want. I think that's how bears view hiking trails. So yeah, planet's going to hell, so we distract ourselves. Look, a little bit of escapism's important, but we've taken it to a whole new level, haven't we? We just surround ourselves with shitty movies, and I've noticed pets is another one. We just surround ourselves with adorable little things. It's usually, everyone has a pet. It's usually a cat or dog. Occasionally you meet a girl with a snake who's working out some sort of fear of penises, but in general, it's cats and dogs. And don't get me wrong, everybody had a dog when I was growing up, but it was a different kind of dog. Like, it was like half wolf and just lived in the backyard, and no one even mentioned it unless it threw up something unique, right? But now people are dating their dogs. They have them in little bags and they carry them around, and me and Charlie are hanging out tonight. And that's the other, it's no more dog names, right? There's no more Fidos or Rexes. It's like Steve. Me and Steve are hanging out, and Steve is the farthest thing from a wild animal. You leave Steve outside without his sweater for 3 minutes, he will freeze into a solid block of ice. My dog growing up, we accidentally left her outside in the cold for February, and we went to let her back in. She didn't want to come because she was busy eating a dead squirrel. Meanwhile, Steve's allergic to gluten and pistachios. Has to be medevaced to a doggy hospital because he was licked a chocolate cupcake. And the reason we have these things is because we just want the emotional energy of someone or something that doesn't know what the fuck is going on outside, right? You walk in the door and they behave the same today as tomorrow, no matter what happens. You walk in, they're like, "We play with the string? Let's play with the string!" And you're like, "We're being foreclosed on, and the dollar is collapsing." And they're like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa, whoa. But the string's okay, right? String's all right. I saw it like an hour ago. We're gonna get through this." It's the same with babies. We just want that emotional ignorance, you know? That's why people that don't have babies like me, we tip them up like this to try and dump it out of them. Give me your hope. Give me your lack of awareness of global warming. That's all it is. We gotta distract ourselves from the globalization of shit. It's just shit spreading around the world. Isn't it? It's the worst. I did a tour of the UK, and to me it was sadder to see over there, because I feel like over here you hear people all the time that are like, "Oh man, that Starbucks used to be my favorite music store." But over there, people are like, "Oh man, that Starbucks used to be my favorite castle. Ah, King George of Worcestershire sauce used to live in that castle. Now it's a McDonald's. And they rearranged Stonehenge to spell Verizon." That's all it is. Globalizing shit. There are 33,000 McDonald's around the planet. There's one in Guantanamo Bay, I'm not kidding, which explains the hunger strikes. I think it's because the global elite, they want us to be just fat and unhealthy, right? Because fit, healthy people, they're harder to catch and arrest, right? They want us slow and wheezing. That's what they want, because slow and wheezing people have never revolted against a goddamn thing, except a lack of escalators. You know, that's what they want. They want us slow and obese, and because think about it, if you had to go up against either the slow Walking Dead zombies or the World War Z training in the off-season zombies, what you gonna pick? They're turning us into the slow zombies. That's what they're doing, because they don't need the NSA surveillance to find out our movements. They just leave a little cup of water out on their desk, and they watch it like the T-Rex coming in Jurassic Park. They see it vibrating. They know. They look out their window for a slow-moving mob of lightly undulating mountains of flesh. Did that get sad there at the end? Sorry about that. Really, you're never gonna see that march to the White House. Take five, everybody, take 5. I'm gonna stick my head under this soda fountain, all right? And then we're gonna head to the White House. The other day, I saw a pregnant woman who said, I can feel him kicking. He's going to be a soccer player. And whenever you hear that, they're lying. All right? He's going to be a dick. He's already kicking pregnant women. That was the one you were waiting for to really break you open? Yeah? You're kicking pregnant women? You're like, yeah, it's a show. That's what we're looking for. Finally, he's getting to stuff we can all relate to. I feel like it's only the shit that's globalized. I really do. It's Miley Cyrus, right? That's what gets around the world. Miley Cyrus. I feel like music has become just anything to get attention, like Lady Gaga had to wear a dress made out of meat, and Robin Thicke put out his pro-date rape blurred lines song, and Miley Cyrus morphed into some sort of half-naked, meth-addled alien creature with an elongated tongue. She looks like Axl Rose the early years. And finally answers that question, what would Axl Rose look like twerking? And no, you can't unhear that sentence. Really, she's testing my ability to like freedom. If you've never seen a Miley Cyrus performance, don't watch it, all right? It'll haunt your nightmares. So I'm gonna describe it in detail. If a great musical performance is like a cornucopia with a million different sensations and smells and senses, then a Miley Cyrus performance is like the sweaty ass crack of an obese man on a 12-hour flight farting asbestos. All right? It's uncomfortable to witness, and then later you may think you have mesothelioma. If a great musical performance is like the lovemaking of two star-crossed lovers, a lovemaking so pure that each memory cannot encapsulate the whole, like trying to grab a dazzling, raging river with your hands, then a Miley Cyrus performance is like a depressed, flaccid penis that smells of deceased swamp frogs pressed against your face every day for 50 years. I know. If true talent is a sculptor who's able to take a faceless piece of marble and turn it into a gorgeous fair maiden, a skill that itself took thousands and thousands of thankless hours to hone and perfect, then a Miley Cyrus performance is like taking that faceless piece of marble, using it to dash out the brains of a baby sheep, recording that animal's death cries, auto-tuning them, and playing them in place of the national anthem before an ultimate fighting championship between two unwilling participants. Years ago, before Miley Cyrus was even born, there was a comedian named Bill Hicks who had a joke, right? He had a joke about how we should have a TV show called Let's Hunt Down and Kill Billy Ray Cyrus. Now, not listening to that advice, I rank it up there with Hitler not getting into art school in terms of ultimate harm done to humanity. But that's our distraction, right? That shit. The news is a distraction now because it's not news, it's infotainment. That's all it is, And look, I'm not going to defend any of the corporate media stations, but there was a pretty awesome survey that showed that people who only watch Fox News know less about what's happening in the world than people who watch no news at all. Like, that is mind-blowing. That is amazing. Because no one would keep watching a sports channel that made them dumber about sports. Just walking around like, yeah, the Lakers beat Tiger Woods. What now, motherfucker? People are like, I don't even watch sports, but I'm pretty sure one of those is a basketball team and the other's like a tiger or something. It's just crap. I turned it on the other day, Fox, because it is my favorite comedy show. And They were covering a viral video of a 5-year-old. Did you see this? He was on stage, or 4-year-old, on stage in a church, and he's singing, and the whole church is cheering. Everyone's ecstatic. And the lyrics to the song are, "Ain't no homos gonna get into heaven." And it's like viscerally repulsive, right? It's repulsive to imagine parents took the time to carefully sit a kid down over weeks and weeks and take the energy and the patience and everything to teach this kid a song with a double negative in it. You know, it's a positive song because the ain't and the no cancel each other out. So it's saying gay people get into heaven, but grammar is so important at that age. Really. Yes. As my grandpappy always said, even if you don't have a dollar to your name, you're never truly poor if you have guns and ski masks. So yeah, it is. It's just all shit. It's just ad dollars. I mean, that's what it comes down to. That's why the news is what it is. Just where the ads coming from. Advertising. We apparently take in between 1,000, 3,000 ads per day if you count brand names and all that shit. And you don't think of the collective effect that has on our unconscious mind. I mean, most people accept the placebo effect is very powerful. Studies show it's very powerful. So what do you think taking in that much advertising is doing to us as a whole? Because ads are dickheads. Like, imagine, if an ad were a person, it would be very obvious. It would be very obvious. If an ad were a guy just walking up to you, just like, hey, 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 hey! If you wore these pants, then the hot girls would fuck you. Yeah, hot girls. Not that ugly broad you call a girlfriend. By the way, can you tell her to do something about her hair, maybe lose a little weight? Which she could do if she just took these pills. By the way, you happy with your penis size? Are you? If you are, that's cool. A lot of women are into, what do you call that, fun size. A lot of women are into fun size. I haven't met any, but I'm sure they're out there. But listen, if you change your mind, just take a couple of these, and in 2 weeks, you will have to hire people to help you carry your cock around like a train on a wedding dress. But how are you gonna call your cock carriers with that shitty phone you got there? You need to get one of these bullshit technology phones that makes other people feel better than you just because they have it. And they are better than you. Oh my God, all this shit you need and don't have is making me anxious. Is it making you anxious? Is it? Are you anxious now? Are you? Then just take a couple of these. Just take a couple of these. In 2 weeks, you will feel amazing. Plus, bonus side effect, those pills also make your ass hair shiny and more manageable with extra bounce. That's what advertising is. That's what it is. Every day. I just hate it. I hate the manipulation. That's the same reason I hate like malls and malls are my hell. You go in, you're instantly swimming through a flood of obnoxious children and the kids they've birthed. And then you get on an escalator on our little ride down to pleather purgatory before you try and find your way out of the place, which you can't because it's fucking designed to make you lost. It's designed to make you wander aimlessly through some department store where they're spraying chemical fumes in your eyes. And that shit would be toxic if you ingested it, but it's okay to spray it on your face on a daily basis because it's been filtered through Beyonce's twat. That makes it all right. It's fine. It's fine. And the only sign of care for the environment in this entire ritualistic journey for plastic materialistic goods is the eco bag we all get, right? The $1 canvas bag. And don't get me wrong, that's important. We use billions of plastic bags, but it can't be all you do. People are like, yeah, the environment's fine because I got this bag. Yeah. Look at that. Look at that right there. Environment's fine. It's green colored. You know what green stands for? Green stands for environment. It's okay. Plus, it's all right that I bought 7 pairs of single-use earphones because the sign said that for every pair of earphones I buy, a Sony employee would sing a song to a squirrel. You know, so we buy. The other reason we have to keep buying endlessly is because shit is designed to break now, right? It's designed to go obsolete or out of fashion. You get a cell phone and 3 weeks later it's in the Amish Museum of Antiquities, right? It's designed to be that way. It is. And economists have a term for it. They call it planned obsolescence, right? And economists call it that because economists never get laid because they talk funny. But The human term for it is shit be breaking, all right? Shit be breaking, because companies make more money when shit be breaking than when shit be working. That's how it works, and that's even changed over my lifetime. When I was little, your grandmother would pull you aside and be like, see this hutch? See this thing of drawers here? This thing, your great-grandfather built this hutch 130 years ago, and your grandfather was born inside this hutch. And this one right here. And your father once fornicated with this hutch. And one day this will be your hutch. You should wash it first. But nowadays, you buy something at IKEA, it's made from cardboard, scotch tape, and hope. And like 6 weeks later, it explodes into 1,000 pieces. And then the pieces turn to dust and blow away like a bad guy at the end of an Indiana Jones film. And no number of Allen keys will turn a pile of shit into solid oak. I don't know who Allen is, but he can't handle that. So we end up with piles of garbage. There's a patch of plastic floating around the Pacific twice the size of Texas. Twice the size of Texas. Got 4 times the IQ, too. It's just out there floating around. It's good to find those places we can all come together, you know, like, fuck Texas. The other day I got in a fight with a McDonald's employee and he said, eat shit and die. I said, I'll have the McNuggets. The other thing about planned obsolescence is it's just another way to make life difficult for your average worker, right? You gotta keep buying shit endlessly. You know, it's just, my father told me this story, which I know is just a story that's passed around, but, you know, picture 2 farmers 100 years ago, and they see each other in town, and he goes, how's it going? And the other guy goes, oh, it's going great. I found out that when sawdust falls into my mule's feed, he eats the sawdust with the feed. So I've started increasing the amount of sawdust and decreasing the feed. Eventually, I'll get to all sawdust, and I'll save a fortune. And then he sees him a month later. He goes, how's it going? He goes, oh, it's going great. And then the dumb mule died on me. So now I got to start over. Well, that's us. We're the mules, all right? All this shit is just more sawdust, you know? Whether it's $50 to check a bag on the airplane, more sawdust. Whether it's ATM fees, more sawdust. Healthcare fees, more sawdust. Whether $50 because you bounced a check, then another charge because you bounced the same check, then a charge from the guy who's got to call you to tell you bounced a fucking check. More sawdust, more sawdust, more sawdust. And as Notorious B.I.G. always said, more sawdust, more problems. All right? And the reason is because the ass holier than thou titans of dickery at the top are short-term greedy. They want the money now. They don't give a fuck about 20 years from now that they're going to be standing in the middle of a pile of dead mules going, what, too much sawdust? How about we give you more reality TV? That's all it is, you know? And they tell us we got to cut back. Everybody's got to cut back. We don't have money for that. We don't have money for infrastructure. We don't have money for education. The amount of money we dump into war and the military could solve all of this overnight. We have 900 military bases around the world. Meanwhile, our economy's filled with debt. Our people are filled with Kentucky Fried Chicken. The chicken's filled with hormones. The hormones filled with mercury. And we don't know what the fuck mercury's filled with because we defunded NASA. We used to be the country that put a man on the moon, and now your average American man couldn't break the Earth's gravitational pull to stand up without the help of friends and family. I have never once gotten a standing ovation at a U.S. comedy club, and it's because physics won't allow it. Really, the amount of money dumped into these stupid wars and bombing and the lives, of course, the number of civilians that have died from drone bombings. Although you do have to give Obama and the Pentagon some credit. They realized too many people were dying from drone bombings, too many civilians, and they fucking did something about it. They stood up and they did something about it. They changed the definition of the word civilian. They did. They changed it so that anyone of military age in a target area is now a combatant. You don't even have to know you're fighting. You could be 95 years old trying to figure out how to put falafel in your mouth. You're a combatant, you know? You tell that to anyone with an intelligence above that of an eggplant parmesan, and they go, you can't do that. It's a word. It means something. You can't just change the definition. But no, if you're president, you can. If you're president, just walk around going, lunch is now dinner, and dinner's now breakfast. That chair is a table, and a premature ejaculation is now a just right ejaculation. Just run around doing that shit. What happened to war as a last resort? Wasn't that a thing we had once, war as a last resort? Now it's not a resort at all. In order to resort to something, you have to stop doing it at some point. You know, it's saying we resort to war is like me saying I resorted to having brown hair, or I resorted to hating babies, you know? The only reason we wrap presents is for that 1 second of surprise right as the person opens it. Couldn't we get the same effect by just throwing the gift at the person? Then they'd be surprised even if they knew what you were gonna give them. It'd be like, I knew you were giving me a clock radio, but not at that speed. Endless war, and now we got the NSA surveillance going on. They loved it. They're still doing this, where they make it all about Edward Snowden, right? It's all Edward Snowden. It's all that's the only story. Oh, he's a traitor. He failed out of college. He failed out of the military. He's a loser. All right. Here's the thing. For the sake of argument, let's pretend he's the worst human being to ever live. Let's pretend he makes Charles Manson look like Tom Hanks. All right, let's pretend they found his girlfriend's head in a ditch and he steals people's french fries when they're in the bathroom. All right, he just walks around flicking toddlers in the face just to watch them cry. Let's just pretend horrible human being. It wouldn't fucking matter. It doesn't fucking matter. It's like someone telling you your house is on fire. You look, you see it's on fire, and then you go, hold on, didn't you fail out of college? Not falling for this. I mean, that guy gave up a $200,000 a year job and a house in Hawaii just to let us know that we're under the largest surveillance state ever created. You know, $200,000. I could see leaking that shit if you were giving up a job as the midnight guy who has to change the pants on the mannequins at the big and tall store. But $200,000 a year. I was sitting in a sports bar. I saw an elderly woman fall on her face outside on the sidewalk, and I didn't get up to help her because I didn't want to give up my seat. Had a good angle on the TV. One thing I will say that sucks about whistleblowers, if you notice, always such negative Nancys. Have you noticed that? Really? Never anything good coming from the whistleblower community. We're very depressed out here. Don't they ever think about us? You know, why don't they leak that cookie dough ice cream is delicious? That they saw a bunny rabbit, you know? Something. All right, let's talk about something not so controversial. Let me tell you something about black people. Some of you getting a little nervous? That sentence never ends well, does it? No. It does quiet down a room full of white people, though. I feel like we should just replace the ting, 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 ting to give speeches with just a white guy going, let me tell you something about black people. Okay, we ready for the speeches? But that being said, let me tell you something about black people. Black people do drugs at the same rate as white people. They account for 13% of the population and 13% of drug use. And yet, they account for 38% of arrests and 60% of convictions. So how is it that if it's the same amount of drugs, that could be 60% of convictions? Clearly, black people are just terrible at hiding their drugs. Have you noticed that? Always walking down the street with a 3-foot bong and just nitrous oxide balloons shaped like SpongeBob SquarePants. Yeah? And the cops are like, why don't we arrest the guy with the yo gabba gabba Mylars and the silly grin on his face? Side note, why is it children's shows always have to be like a seizure-evoking mushroom trip? What is it? What is it about being 2 that means that's what you want to see? I feel like the volume on life is slowly turned down. You know, like from 0 to 4, your idea of a good time is watching a show that looks like if the color neon orange ejaculated a dance team. Like that's what you want to see. And then you get to like 50 and you just see a red robin out the window. It's pretty exciting. Right? Red robin. Then you get to 90 and you can just stare out on a field of dull brown grass all day long. And if a guy in a Cookie Monster outfit did approach you, you would shit yourself and swallow your fake teeth. But back to black people. The reason that this is happening is because we have an incredibly racist criminal justice system. And say you can call that an opinion, but it's like calling climate change an opinion, or the Holocaust an opinion, or Anderson Cooper important, or Toronto Mayor Rob Ford demure. It is an incredibly racist system, but and because we now have privatized prisons, they make money off of harsher sentencing, and we have 5% of the world's population, but 25% of the world's prisoners. And is that a bad thing? Does a bear shit in the woods? You're goddamn right he does, unless he's in a zoo, in which case he's probably thinking to himself, God, what I'd give to shit in the woods. That sounds wonderful, rather than shitting in a 10-foot cage with a 5-year-old snot-nosed idiot pressing his face up against the glass. If I ever escape from here, I'm gonna eat the fuck out of that 5-year-old. And then I'm gonna shit him in the woods, all right? And then you're gonna have to change your little expression to does an escaped zoo bear shit a 5-year-old in the woods? Goddamn right I do. So all I'm saying is you should talk about this shit. So next time you're the best man or your maid of honor and you're at the reception, just go, let me tell you something about black people. And then I'll get to how Steve became my best friend. But black people are the victims of an incredibly racist criminal justice system. And Linda, you look stunning on your special day. You really do. That's all I'm saying. It's normal when someone sneezes to say God bless you, even if you don't know the person. It's kind of awkward to talk about God when you don't even know the person. And I'm an atheist. So now when I see someone on the train, like sneezes, I just go, I don't even know you! You can use that one if you want. But of course, the privatized prisons is just another way to make money from our society, from the average people. Just another way to make a few dollars. The pillaging that continues to go on, and they love to act like, oh, everything's coming back, right? We're in recovery, and stock market looking great. Corporations doing great. Meanwhile, we have like more homeless than ever before. And the reason is because judging the success of a society by how the stock market's doing is like judging the health of a dying man by looking at the leeches on his skin. All right? That's what we're doing right now. We're like, those leeches look great. You're going to be fine. Yeah. Walk it off. That's what it is. We have more billionaires than ever before, all the wealth getting extracted to the top. And my problem with billionaires is not just that they have that much money. It's that we're told to respect them. We're told to look up to them. Our media goes to them for how to run our... Hey, how can we fix this? How are we going to make this work? They're fucking psychopaths, all right? They're no more fit... They are no more fit for society than the guy who kidnaps neighborhood dogs and has them lick peanut butter off his balls, all right? They're actually less fit because at least Mr. Nutterbutter's making dogs happy. They're psychopaths. You don't respect anyone else who collects a billion or a million of something. Like, if you find out someone's got a million shoes, you're like, what the fuck's the matter with you? So why do we respect people with a million pieces of paper with Alexander Hamilton's fugly mug on it, right? It's just, we should treat billionaires the same way we treat people in the TV show Hoarders, all right? If you haven't seen Hoarders, it's a TV show about hoarders. They cracked the code on that name. We should treat them the same. You don't have to make fun of hoarders, but nobody goes to them for advice. No one walks into one of those homes like, wow, you've got a room filled with 18 years worth of yogurt containers, another room filled with old Coca-Cola cans and expired parakeets. This is really impressive, what you done here. Can you help me with my stock portfolio? We should treat them the same. And our system rewards these assholes, right? It's set to reward it. You know the times you really see how the system's set up? You really see it during the pranks by the Yes Men. You know the Yes Men? Yeah? The Yes Men. I've gotten to work with them on some of their smaller things, but their bigger things are amazing. They got on BBC and they announced Dow Chemical was going to pay off the victims of the Bhopal chemical spill millions of dollars. They announced that General Electric was going to give back their $3 billion of tax refund to the federal government. And after they announced those things, the corporations then have to come out and say, hey, that really great thing you heard about? We're totally not doing that. We want nothing to do with that. And you learned something during that hour. You learned something during that hour when everyone believes it. Their stock plummets, all right? Dow lost $1 billion. GE lost $1 billion. Meaning, we've created a system that rewards being a gigantic jizz waffle, right? That's being the worst human being. If you announce that you're going to hostily take over a local business and fire all the employees, then Wall Street gives you the economic equivalent of a high five and a reach around. But if you announce you're going to give free AIDS medication to the dying people of Ghana, then Wall Street knocks you unconscious and draws queer on your forehead. That's what we've created. And you also have to think about who gets to those boardrooms. These are the most powerful. These corporations are powerful in most countries. Who gets to that boardroom, right? Who gets to that spot? I'll give you a hint. It's not the vegan who lets people merge in front of him in traffic. Not the guy. Not the guy. It's not the guy who's late for work but helps grandma cross the street. All right? It's the guy who's figured out how to tether 3 grandmas to a skateboard so they can pull him to work. That's the job. That job attracts those dick helmets like moth to a flame, like obese children to the downhill side of the playground. I have bad luck. The other day I found a 4-leaf clover with a pube on it. I'll give you another example of how this system is rigged. I mean, there's countless, but I'm just going through a couple of them. And this one I found out from my good friend Greg Palast, who is here tonight. Greg Palast, great investigative journalist. Because I don't know if you knew this about my act, but my demographic is just investigative journalists. That's hard-hitting. That's it. But no, the Euro was designed to fail, all right? It was meant to fail. Usain Bolt was meant to run. Roger Federer was meant to play tennis. Simon Cowell was meant to shit all over television. And the Euro was meant to fail. And it wasn't meant to fail for the fucking assholes that created it. It was meant to do what you and I view as failing. It was meant to fuck the average worker in the face 12 ways to Sunday. And right now, that fuckfest is in full swing. It's kind of exciting to see. It's like walking in on an orgy that's really gross people, but then all the moaning spontaneously harmonizes into Beethoven's Fifth. So you're like, oh, kind of interesting. And you might be thinking, this economic theory, Lee, you don't seem smart enough to come up with this on your own. And I'm not. I had some help. I had help from the guy who created the Euro. All right? The Euro is the brainchild of economist Robert Mundell. And he said, quote, in an interview years ago, he said, quote, the Euro is designed to take monetary policy out of the hands of politicians so that in a crisis, the only way to keep jobs is by competitive reductions on business, meaning slashing labor laws, slashing environmental regulations, cutting taxes for the rich, those type of things. That is how, the genius of it is it's meant to wait for a crisis. So it's like hanging out with the Incredible Hulk. You think you got a cool dude, and then you say something to offend him. He grows to 10 feet tall and smashes your labor laws, all right? So when someone walks up to you and they're like, oh, the Euro's doing so terrible, what the fuck? You're like, no, it's only doing terrible for you and me, all right? For the greed monkeys that created this thing. The Euro is a caterpillar that has just now turned into a butterfly that's tattooed above the ass crack of an evil temptress named Greed, okay? And just like a tattoo of a butterfly, give it a couple years, it'll be blurred and look like a pterodactyl. Just another way to make money. Just another way to pillage. Did you see this? I'm sure you saw this on the news because the media has been covering it always, never. And Chevron dumped 18 billion gallons of toxic sludge into the Amazon rainforest in Ecuador. And you got my first thought was, how do you spill 18 billion gallons? Like, was there an employee standing there going, "Oh no, this is bad. How much longer do I have to do this? 25 years? Oh no." But no, they were able to do it because it wasn't a spill. It was intentional. They realized they could save a couple of dollars by dumping this shit in the rainforest. And now, 1,400 people died from cancer, birth defects, all kinds of other problems, the land destroyed. So they sued Chevron. And they won. They won billions of dollars of restitution, right? And then Chevron sued and won against the victims of their own toxic dumping. Which is a fucking level of evil that is hard to comprehend. I feel like Darth Vader during his pedophile years would have been like, dude, that's cold. All right, that's fucking awful. I mean, what goes on in these corporate boardrooms? It's just, I witnessing that trial must have. I'd rather see a sumo wrestler making love to a dead coyote with Justin Bieber playing in the background. This sounds awful. Give it up for Mike Stang one more time. Mike Stang. That's all you got, man? Come on. Mike Stang. Just my luck, I get the only humble rock star. Yay for humble. You guys are lovely. Floods would be less scary if they were called surprise whitewater rafting on a mattress with your dog. But there is one way for us to fight back against this shit is to fuck with all these corporations' brand names, because that's the one thing they need us for. They need us to keep having a positive view of their brands. So I think we should fuck with language the way they do all the time. The Orwellian shit they do all the time. We should start using it for our good. Like if your kid takes a dump in his pants, just be like, "Oh man, my toddler just chevroned in his shorts." Just. Who's that said? Or just walk into the office and be like, "Hey guys, just letting you know, don't use the elevator for a little while. Someone Walmarted in there something fierce. It smells like a skunk was eating gorgonzola." So what do we need to get out of this? We need good leaders. We have that. Obama. I tried to be an Obama fan back in 2008, and you got to look at the record, It's a bigger prosecution of whistleblowers than ever before, the largest surveillance state ever created, more drone bombings than ever. He got his first speech on climate change basically came 5 years in and said fracking is the answer, And granted, he does do some things better than Bush, reading, but still. You can't, you gotta look at the facts. He put, the people he surrounds himself with, the Larry Summers and the Geithners, people that caused the initial collapse. He put Michael Taylor, Mr. Monsanto, as top of the Food and Drug Administration, which is like putting George Zimmerman as the head of the NAACP. It's like Lance Armstrong as the head of the DEA. It's like putting Dick Cheney in charge of a children's bake sale to raise money for puppies with restless leg syndrome. It's like putting the boogeyman in charge of underbed security. fucking disaster. But I've realized, though, that doesn't mean I am above trashing the far right wing. But I've stopped getting quite as angry when I hear the crazy shit that comes out of the right wing, because I now view it the same as when I read an article about someone spotting Bigfoot. Because when I read those articles, I always think, don't tell us how you spotted Bigfoot. Tell us what kind of drugs you were doing that made you think you spotted Bigfoot. Because they sound incredible, all right? He was 10 feet tall and growled like a werewolf, and this all happened in a fountain in downtown Atlanta? Holy shit. You and I are hanging out. So when I hear these right-wingers, the fucking liarrhea that sprays out of their face holes, I don't get angry, you know? I'm just like, really? God spoke to you? God spoke to you. God picked you. God picked you, Mr. Representative in Nebraska, and told you you're in charge of making decisions for all of women's vaginas? What kind of drugs were you doing? They sound incredible. Do you have any idea how long men have been looking for the drug that gives us power over all the vaginas? Forever. Yeah, the right-wingers always love to be like they hate taxes. They're always like, I don't want to pay for that shit. I want to pay for I don't have a kid in the school system. I don't want to pay for the school system. I don't want to pay for, if that guy wants to retire, you know, that guy wants his retirement, he should have worked harder and become a doctor, a lawyer, or a manager of a restaurant. Well, here's the thing. I've got a new argument. I've got a new debate for this, a new response to this, and I think it might work. What about the idiots? There's a lot of fucking idiots in this country, all right? Becoming a doctor or a lawyer or a manager is not in the cards for them. No matter how fucking hard they work, for whatever reason, they were just born dumb, okay? They come from a long line of idiots, or maybe their mom thought sniffing paint fumes during pregnancy would create a natural-born artist. You know, for whatever reason, they make a block of cheese look bright, okay? And here's the thing: we have the resources to take care of all these idiots. We do. We have enough. Look around us. We have enough food and water and shelter and bad TV, dick and pussy for everyone. All right, there's enough out there. Saying we don't have enough money for this shit is like saying it's like a builder saying they don't have enough inches to finish the job. All right, they've got the wood and the nails and the ladders. They just run out of inches. All right. It's all we have that ability. So what about the idiots? You know, there's a lot of people in this country that think the Enterprise rental car employees are genuinely happy to see them. Okay? There's a lot of people out there that drive 20 minutes out of their way just to save 10 cents on gas, you know? What about the idiots? There's a lot of people that watched the last 5 Adam Sandler movies and laughed. Okay? What about those people? What about those people? They always say if you catch on fire, stop, drop, and roll. I think the stop part of those instructions is unnecessary. Oh no, I'm on fire! But these cupcakes aren't gonna bake themselves. Okay, let's get to the positive part of the show. I'm gonna be positive for a minute. Sometimes you gotta be positive. Sometimes you gotta, right? Get out a cup of hot cocoa and throw on a sweater vest, Mr. Rogers it up, right? And make some sexual advances towards puppets, right? Sometimes you gotta do that. And if you're gonna make awkward sexual advances, puppets are a good target, because they'll keep their mouths shut, all right? As long as you have access to a needle and thread, they will. So, but I've said this before, I'm an optimist, largely. I consider myself a cynical optimist. I view the glass as half full of shit. So I'm an optimist, and I actually think that because of the information revolution that we're in the middle of, because of the internet, I think we're in the middle of a global awakening, a change of consciousness, the shape and size of which we've never seen before, with the possible exception of that automatic device that scoops your kitty litter. All right, that thing was pretty crazy, but outside of that, we've never seen this before, and you can't really, like most devices that have changed mankind, it took 100 years, and it was only the elites that really benefited, you know, the automobile and the cotton gin and all that shit. But with the internet, it's everyone, and it's over a span of like 20, 25 years. And we can't even comprehend the end, how this is going to end. But I think we're in the middle of something major. Like in 1990, 1 out of 100 people had even heard of the internet. And I made up that number, but it still means something, okay? It means something right here. It does. And really, truth is viral now. Truth didn't used to be viral. It used to be that if you knew the truth and it wasn't getting covered in a newspaper, you had to physically pick up a phone shaped like this and call a friend and tell them the truth and hope they saw fit to tell the hairdresser and hope the hairdresser saw fit to tell his ferret. And then at the end of the week, you'd be like, I got the truth to 9 people, all right? This shit is huge. That's not viral, that's arthritic. The truth used to be arthritic. But now it's changed. I mean, the way it used to be, an example of the way it used to be, was it took 40, 50 years for the Gulf of Tonkin to find out through declassified documents that the Gulf of Tonkin incident that brought us to war in Vietnam, it didn't happen. 40 years. Whereas now, the Pentagon says no civilians die from a drone bombing, and then someone goes, I just got a text from one of their family members, and she's pissed. So it's changing everything. It really is. And I know sometimes it feels like the internet's only used for kitten videos and porn. And by the way, if they ever find a way to combine those two, we are fucked. All right, we are not going to remember to eat. We're not. It's going to be dinosaurs, asteroid, humans, kittens, and porn. We will be done. But it's also allowing technology solutions to come from the bottom up because everybody has the information now. There's 3 14-year-old girls in Nigeria who invented a generator that runs on piss, runs on urine. Which you may soon be able to piss in your car and make it go, right? You may soon literally be able to piss off. How exciting is that? That's really exciting. I like it. I like it when weird expressions come to life. I do. And the technology's amazing as long as we keep it out of the hands of corporations, as long as it's not fucking kept in a corporate cage, right? I mean, drone technology is incredible if it could be used for the right things. It's amazing technology, but Amazon.com wants to use it to deliver your packages. They said within 5 years they want to have miniature drones delivering all your packages. Wait, this is the most incredible technology. This is the first ever miniature automated self-piloted flying machines, and we're gonna use it to deliver slap chops to agoraphobic coleslaw addicts? Really? That's what we're using it for? This is shit straight out of the Jetsons, and we're using it to deliver a Harry Potter novel to a douche-tard? Come on. And I'm sure the NSA is going to love having little cameras flying around all of our neighborhoods. I don't trust those. I don't trust any of these robots. I get nervous around Roombas. All right? I don't know what those guys are reporting back to their bosses. Who knows? The Mars rover could smell a rock on Mars and tell you if there was alien life there 2 million years ago. You're telling me Roomba doesn't know I'm snorting Fun Dip on the weekends? I don't trust that guy. Shouldn't trust these guys. You shouldn't trust your battery-powered dual-speed dildo. You don't know what he's telling his friends, all right? He's got some serious intel on you. He's going back to the others going, you wouldn't believe where I was shoved. I had to hold my breath for a week. I will never be the same. The places that man put me on his body. Faggot is a word. Cunt is a word. Nigger is a word. If you were offended by any of those sentences, then you don't understand how sentences work. But yeah, no, I think we have to talk about this shit. You have to talk about all this stuff I've talked about over the past 50 minutes. You have to tell your friends about it, and it's uncomfortable. I think sometimes it doesn't seem polite to talk about this shit, to talk about where the world's headed, but we could go off a cliff due to politeness. It's It's insane. People, you know, you might lose a few Facebook friends. It might be a sacrifice you have to be willing to make. People call you too political. I'm called too political all the time. Oh, Lee, you wear your politics on your sleeve and your thong on the outside. That was one time, all right? And I read the invitation wrong. You know, I'm told I'm too political for a lot of TV shows. I'm too political to perform at college campuses and every children's birthday party I perform at. They fill out a complaint form. We didn't like that the clown put the balloon animals inside cages and said they were factory farm balloon animals. Well, fuck you then. But the truth is, when someone tells you to shut up, when they tell you you're being too political, they're taking a political stance. That is an equally political stance, all right? That is a full-throated defense of the status quo. They are saying everything is fine, shut the fuck up, and go back to your fried onion cheesy poppers, all right? Because each day we're faced with hundreds of decisions that could be baby steps towards a better civilization, could be molecules that make up a societal elevation. And each day, billions of people around the world think to themselves, those things don't matter at all. Now imagine if that billion people thought those things do matter. Each of those decisions is a statement that contagious passion matters more than ironic detachment. And ironic detachment can go fuck itself in the face, all right, with goofy suspenders and a funny mustache. Far funnier than mine. It can. Because we're at a crossroads right now. We really are. We could live in a world with fresh, clean, locally grown food, or we could live in a world with Monsanto genetically modified, untested food that could give you cancer of the AIDS of the liver of the heart. All right? And that's the worst kind. It could. We could live in a world where financial terrorists run around a revolving door between Wall Street and the government so fast they have to pop Dramamine like Pez just to deal with the motion sickness, all right? Or we could live in a world where there's no Wall Street benefiting off the misery of others, all right? And then the only people benefiting off of misery would be dominatrixes. Dominatrixes. You have to get that plural right, otherwise you'll call and order dominate tricksters, and then very mean magicians will show up to your house. We could live in a world where, you know, we can live in a world where all your clothing is made by near slave labor in some country you've never heard of, or a world where not only is there no slave labor, but there's a lot less labor for all of us so that we can spend more time on art and science and exploration, you know, both the kind of exploration that's done with a backpack and aviator goggles and the kind of exploration that's done in the bedroom with nothing on but lotion, right? And maybe some aviator goggles. Right? We can live in a world that's based on peace and abundance, or a world that's based on war and weaponry. You know, we spend 57% of our discretionary spending on military and 6% on education. So you see our priorities, you know? Now we have drones that are fucking brilliant and teenagers that can't be near scissors without supervision. Right? These are our choices. We can live in one world or the other world. We can live in a world where, a world where corporations can sue because they don't make the profits they wanted to because environmental regulations stop them, or a world where a corporation needs the consent of the people to fucking operate, right? Otherwise, we're going to end up like Youngstown, Ohio. Until 2011, when fracking started there, Youngstown, Ohio had 0 earthquakes. Now, I'm no scientist, but that sounds like not many earthquakes, all right? Since 2011, they've had 109 earthquakes, all right? And everybody just thought the people of Youngstown were really into twerking. But no, those ass jiggles had another culprit. These are the choices we have because we're in the middle of a drop-down, drag-out, bloody fucking war, and a lot of us are too dumb, medicated, or blissfully uneducated to even realize it. We've anesthetized ourselves with shiny shit and zombified ourselves with televised social rejects. All right, this is dark versus light, evil versus good, Mel Gibson now versus Mel Gibson 1993. This is some serious shit. And just like a fishbowl, if you just give us a little bit of food and a little plastic treasure chest or a chest of plastic treasures, then we will never even question that all of our thoughts and all of our soul takes place inside of a 2-foot bowl. We will never even question it. We're witnessing the liquidation of everything we've built over the past 200, maybe 1,000 years. This unfettered, unregulated capitalist domination of the mental sphere, the natural here and now, it's a digestion, it's an extraction, it's a defecation on anything and everything that matters to your average human being. And the question now is just whether we'll all put our differences aside long enough to tell the fucking greed penis fungus captains at the top to go frack themselves with a rusty Walmart, you know? And I'd just like to finish off by saying that you take a step back and you look at it all. And life is like this fucking flicker of a flare of a momentary coincidence. It is a galactic accident that you or I or anyone is here. We are the universe's unwanted, unintended, unplanned pregnancy. Don't ask me who knocked up the universe, but talk about doing the big girl. Holy shit. And some people take this philosophy, you know, that we are nothing, that we're just a little bit of fungus on a rock in the middle of a nothing and a nowhere. Some people find that depressing. I find it empowering. It means that right now is everything. Right now is all that matters. It's all that can matter, because the past is gone or relegated to a camera phone, and the future is unknowable, or at least hard to meet unless you have access to a hovering skateboard and a wacky scientist. So that means right now is it. How fucking exciting is that? Right now is everything. That's incredible. You know, you thought it was just another boring day, just another dental exam or a hand job, but no. This is it. I find that so much less depressing than the evangelical view of things, that we're in a giant waiting room before we head up to another bigger giant waiting room that has comfier shoes and better pillows. All right? If I could find a way to stab myself with a cloud and get the fuck out of there, I would. And you take those two together, that we are nothing, and of that nothing, right now is everything, and it should change the way we behave. It should change the way we act. We should be caring about our shared humanity rather than giving a fuck about our looks or our clothes, our texts or our tweets, the cash in our wallets or the rash on our balls. But we can't. We can't. And the reason we can't is because of our ego as a species. We all think we're so fucking special, says the guy on stage begging you to love him. We all think we're so fucking special. A surprising number of people think they've been alien anal probed, all right? That life forms have come millions of light years just to find out what's up their butts. But in reality, we are just a little speck on a piece of wood floating in the middle of 1,000 oceans. And the irony is, if we could appreciate we're nothing, then we could live like we actually matter. Thank you guys for coming out. I really appreciate it. Thank you guys.